My older brother had been dead for half a year when my sister-in-law gave birth to a baby girl in a rented apartment in the city, and then disappeared. Neighborhood office staff tracked the address down and showed up at my door, stuffing the swaddled infant straight into my arms. My parents, their eyes bloodshot from crying, begged me to raise the child. From that day on, I traded away my youth and my future, becoming a single mother who had never even been married. I raised that girl with everything I had, trained her into a national gymnastics champion. But right at the victory celebration banquet, my sister-in-law returned. She was draped in glittering jewelry, radiant and glamorous, and pointed straight at my face, screaming that I was a thief who had stolen her biological child. My niece slapped my hand away, crying as she threw herself into her arms. Together with my sister-in-law and her biological father, they had me forcibly committed to a psychiatric hospital. I was tortured there until I died. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the very day the neighborhood official knocked on the door. Early in the morning, frantic knocking echoed through the hallway. My heart lurched. This was it. In my previous life, Officer Wong from the neighborhood office had knocked exactly like this. Neighbors had poured out of their apartments to watch. In front of everyone, she shoved a baby girl into my arms and scolded me with a stern face, accusing me of being unmarried yet pregnant, of having poor morals. Later, I found out the child was my brother's. My parents begged me, saying I had never planned to get married anyway, so I might as well raise her. I loved my parents, so I agreed, and paid for it with my life. Now, the knocking came again, pounding like a death drum. I jumped out of bed and rushed to open the door. Standing outside was a face I would never forget, even in death. "Chu Noan, you heartless girl," she snapped. "You give birth and throw your baby in the trash. Do you know abandoning a newborn is a serious crime?" Just as expected, neighbors poked their heads out, whispering and pointing at me. I stared straight at her, then suddenly launched myself into a clean backward flip, landing squarely in front of her. The hallway fell dead silent. "Officer Wong," I said coldly, "have you ever seen a woman who just gave birth moving like this? Look at my stomach. Does it look anything like a woman who's just delivered a baby?" My rapid movements left her staring, mouth agape. Only then did Auntie Lee from across the hall react. "That's right, Noan has been teaching as a substitute at the university. She goes out every day. We never saw her pregnant. Maybe you've got the wrong person." "There's an address written inside the diaper," Officer Wong insisted. "It's this apartment, and the surveillance footage shows the person who abandoned the baby, same build as her." She tried to stay calm. I planted my hands on my hips, raising my voice. "Same build? There are tons of people with similar builds on the street. You're openly slandering me. I'm calling the police." The moment I said, "Police," her face changed. "You little, how dare you twist logic like this?" I snatched the diaper bundle from her hands and raised it high. "You don't want me to call because you're guilty. These two babies have unknown origins. You and child traffickers are clearly in cahoots." Then I dialed 110. "Hello, police? Someone here is suspected of child trafficking and is trying to frame me. If she can't explain herself clearly, I will sue her for abusing her authority and misusing public office." Heaven had given me a second life. All the injustice from my past had become my armor. When the police arrived, they saw Officer Wong holding the baby, her face flushed with anger, while I stood barefoot in my pajamas, eyes sharp and defiant. Neighbors packed the hallway. After hearing the whole story, the police looked at the baby. She was clearly a newborn, still wearing a hospital wristband. "What's going on here?" Officer Wong pulled a crumpled piece of paper from her pocket. The parents left an address and a name. The officer examined it. The address matched my home. The name did too. I crossed my arms. "I don't know who this child is. Someone used my information to dump responsibility on me. She's not my child. If anyone wants to raise her, do it yourselves." As soon as I finished speaking, My parents squeezed through the crowd. "No one," my father said immediately. "Just take her in. Can't our family afford to raise one baby girl? Are you out of your minds?" I cut him off. "A child of unknown origin, and you want me to accept her? What if her biological parents are murderers? What if she has genetic diseases? Bad blood? I'm not raising a ticking time bomb." My parents were speechless. Officer Wang's face darkened. She shoved the baby into my father's arms. "This is the Chu family's business now. I'm done." The hallway erupted in whispers. Everyone understood. This child was now tied to my parents. "You're lying," I said sharply. "Earlier you insisted she was my child. Now you're pushing her onto my parents? Where's your evidence? Without proof, you're forcing this baby onto us." "Officer, I suspect she's trying to evade responsibility." I shoved the baby right back into Officer Wang's arms, making it clear I wanted nothing to do with it. My mother stood beside me, so anxious she kept stamping her feet. "No one, don't be foolish. There are too many scams out there now." Auntie Lee chimed in. "Don't do this, Mr. and Mrs. Chu. She said it was no one's child. Now she says it's yours. Something's wrong." "That's right. Who knows where this baby came from?" Officer Wang finally exploded. "I Tran Tu Kian, have worked at the neighborhood office for 20 years. You think I'd lie? Last night, your daughter-in-law Li Qian ran to an illegal clinic in our district, begging a doctor to deliver her baby. This is the paperwork the doctor gave me, a photocopy of her ID." She pulled out a piece of paper. My parents leaned in. The information was unmistakably Li Qian's. The evidence was clear. The child was Li Qian's. Whispers grew louder. Didn't Li Qian disappear with Chu Kai? How did she suddenly give birth? Who knows? Maybe they never died. She gave birth to whose child? Chu Kai has been dead for over half a year. "You're talking nonsense," my mother started, then swallowed her words. Tran Tu Qian sneered. "Li Qian said after giving birth, I should bring the baby to your house and hand her over to someone to raise." "Officer, I also have an audio recording from the clinic doctor." She pulled out an old recorder and pressed play. "In my previous life, this recording never existed. Back then, when Li Qian returned to frame me, Tran Tu Qian had even testified for her, claiming I had forcibly stolen the baby and humiliated her publicly. This woman had never had good intentions." She smirked. "If I'd known this would be so much trouble, I would have sent the baby straight to an orphanage. Bad luck." The police sighed. "This is a family matter. You should resolve it yourselves." I immediately stopped them. "Officer, this is not a family matter. My sister-in-law has been missing for over half a year and suddenly gave birth. What if she was coerced? What if the illegal clinic harmed her?" That made sense. The police immediately escorted Tran Tu Qian to investigate the illegal clinic. My parents hurried after them. I turned around, went back inside, and began packing. I didn't want to stay in this house for another second. As I dragged my suitcase out, a neighbor asked, "No one, where are you going?" "I'm moving to the university dormitory." I had to prevent the baby from ending up with my parents, because then they'd force me to raise her again. Li Qian gave birth to her own child. Why should I be responsible? I wasn't even married. If word got out, my future in-laws would think I'd slept around and had a child out of wedlock. The neighbors nodded in agreement. "You're right, no one. Think of yourself. Go." Poor girl. Li Qian was reckless, gave birth and disappeared. Who knows if that illegal clinic did something to her? I ignored the chatter and took a taxi straight to campus. When my parents returned, exhausted, baby in their arms, I had already completed my dorm registration. Soon after, my mother called. The moment I answered, her voice was tired and angry, mixed with a newborn's cries. "Chu Noan, where did you run off to?" I moved into the dorm. "Why would you leave? What are we supposed to do with this baby?" So they had gone to the clinic. They had confirmed the child was Lee Kian's, and that she disappeared immediately after giving birth. I just don't understand why you all assume I'm supposed to raise her, I said calmly. Mom, what does this child have to do with me? I didn't give birth to her. The most important thing now is to find Lee Kian and figure out who the child's father is. I have to prepare my lectures. I'm hanging up. I ended the call and went back to lesson prep. Life seemed to return to its proper Gui Dao. Just then, Sister Zhang from the office walked over, smiling brightly. Chu Noan, you don't have a boyfriend yet, right? How about I introduce you to someone? By reflex, I wanted to refuse. But then I thought, why not? Sure, Sister Zhang, I said. Who are you planning to introduce to me? My nephew, she replied cheerfully. He's 5 years older than you. Got his PhD overseas. And now he's a visiting professor at our university. Since it's lunchtime anyway, why don't you meet him for a meal today? I agreed without hesitation. Sister Zhang was visibly delighted and immediately made a phone call. In my previous life, because I was raising that child, I had cut off almost all social interaction. Sister Zhang had once wanted to introduce someone to me, but I always used the excuse that the child was still young to refuse. Thinking back now, I had truly been foolish beyond measure. That noon, I met Shen Yi, Sister Zhang's nephew. We both had a good impression of each other. We exchanged WeChat contacts and agreed to start as friends. Sister Zhang came back later to ask how I felt. I nodded. He's fine. We can get to know each other first. She was overjoyed. I'm telling you, she said enthusiastically, if you two end up together, he'll never let you suffer. I watched him grow up, his character is impeccable. I smiled shyly, which only made her more excited. Just like that, Shen Yi and I began going out to eat together, watching movies, spending time like a normal couple. For a whole month, my parents didn't contact me. I found the peace refreshing. But I never expected my mother to show up directly at my university. That day, I was in the middle of teaching when I suddenly received a call from the Academic Affairs Office. Miss Chu Noan, you need to come here immediately, the staff said urgently. Your mother brought your daughter to the office. Please hurry, the baby is crying so loudly the entire building can hear it. My head buzzed. My daughter? I wasn't even married. Where would a daughter come from? Please don't say nonsense, I said deliberately loud enough for the entire lecture hall to hear. The staff sounded helpless. I don't know either. Just come and take a look. After hanging up, every student's gaze turned toward me. What's going on, Professor Chu? I don't know, I replied. The office said someone claiming to be my mother brought my daughter. The classroom instantly exploded into whispers. No way. Sounds like someone trying to scam her. Professor Chu has a daughter? Never heard that before. These days, who knows, maybe something happened in the past. Hearing the chatter, I deliberately put on a confused and wronged expression and walked to the academic office with a few enthusiastic students. When we arrived, we saw a baby girl lying on the sofa, crying. Everyone froze. One student let out a sigh of relief. How could this be Professor Chu's child? She looks barely a month old. Exactly. Who would be so cruel? If someone had brought a toddler, Professor Chu would never be able to clear her name, even if she jumped into the Yellow River. Isn't this destroying her reputation? My heart turned cold. The academic staff looked troubled. The person who brought the baby claims to be your mother, but I don't know what's going on either. I immediately asked him to pull up the surveillance footage. On the screen was a completely unfamiliar middle-aged woman. I instantly suggested calling the police. This woman is not my mother. I don't know her at all. Some people still hesitated, so I spread my hands. This is clearly child abandonment. I'm a teacher. I interact with many people. Who knows who's pretending to be my mother to dump a child on me? I absolutely will not raise someone else's child. Everyone agreed it made sense. So they called the police. When the police arrived and clarified the situation, they took the baby away. I deliberately asked one more question. Where will the baby be taken? Where else? The officer replied. If we can't find the biological parents, she'll be sent to an orphanage. Hearing that definitive answer, the stone in my heart finally dropped. In this life, I would absolutely not raise that ungrateful little wolf again. As soon as the police left, my mother sent me a WeChat voice message. When I pressed play, her voice was full of anger. Chu Noan, I've contacted your sister-in-law. She said she's going south to work. Your father and I are old, we really don't have the energy to take care of a baby. Just treat her as your own and raise her. I immediately typed back. Mom, what are you talking about? I already have a boyfriend. I'll get married and have my own children. This baby, I will absolutely not raise her. I didn't mention what happened at the academic office. And she didn't bring it up either. I treated it as if it never happened. Shen Yi treated me exceptionally well. Half a year later, we got engaged. At the wedding, I only invited a few colleagues and close friends. I didn't notify anyone from my parents' side. After getting married, we applied together for an exchange program at the main campus. Shen Yi officially became a distinguished professor there. In the years that followed, except for major holidays, I never returned to that so-called home. Even when I did, I would drop off gifts, sit for a few minutes, and leave. I gave birth to a daughter. And I only hoped she would live a peaceful life. From a very young age, Anan showed astonishing talent in gymnastics. At 15, she won the National Youth Championship and was directly admitted into the national team. When the news spread, the entire family was proud of her. Shen Yi was especially thrilled and led the whole family back to his hometown to host a grand celebration. Relatives, friends, neighbors, everyone came. Even my parents shamelessly showed up. Although only 16, Anan was tall, elegant, and beautiful due to years of training. This made my parents mistakenly believe that the girl being praised was the baby Li Qian had given birth to years ago. My mother grabbed Anan's hand, a calculating glint flashing in her eyes. If only we'd known you'd be this talented. Mom, I interrupted. Today is a happy day. Why are you bringing up Li Qian? Did she come back? My mother's eyes wavered immediately. No, she didn't come back. It's been so many years. She never came to see us. Something must have happened to her out there. People go missing all the time these days. Many are never found. Over the years, I had often heard neighbors gossip about Li Qian. Under my deliberate guidance, everyone knew she gave birth and abandoned her child, a heartless woman. So most people assumed Li Qian had disappeared from this world. Only I knew my parents had always been secretly in contact with her. Now that I said this, my mother became visibly upset. Her voice tore through the cheerful atmosphere of the banquet hall. What nonsense are you talking about? Your sister-in-law is alive and well. Instantly, all eyes turned toward us. Only then did my mother realize she had misspoken. Her face turned awkward. I smiled faintly. So you're still in contact with her? Then why didn't she come back to look for her daughter? Oh, right. She abandoned her biological child. Life out there probably isn't going well, she doesn't dare come back. Anyway, it's a happy day, let's not mention her. My mother clearly let out a sigh of relief. But she opened her mouth as if to say something, then stayed silent. The last bit of hope in my heart finally died. In my previous life, when my niece achieved great success, Li Qian returned. This time would be no different. I knew she would definitely show up today. I just didn't know when. But I no longer cared. Because of Anan and the national team, leaders from the General Administration of Sports and reporters from major newspapers were present. All eyes were now focused on our table. As the main character, Anan was invited onto the stage. When she stepped up, my parents completely failed to notice that she was only 16. The daughter Li Qian had given birth to, if she were alive, would already be 18 this year. They didn't notice this fatal discrepancy at all. still lowering their heads repeatedly to check their phones, as if waiting for some message. I smiled coldly and tightened my grip on Shen Yi's hand. We exchanged a quiet smile. Standing on the stage, Anan's clear voice rang out. To achieve what I have today, I want to thank my mother most of all. Without her care and support, I wouldn't be standing here today. Mom, please come up. She reached her hand toward me. I gently adjusted my dress and was just about to stand when a shrill female voice suddenly pierced the air. She is not her mother. She is not worthy to stand beside her. Everyone turned to look. I, on the other hand, exhaled slowly. What was meant to come had finally arrived. I turned and saw the speaker. It was Li Qian. Beside her stood a middle-aged man wearing a fur coat, a thick gold chain hanging around his neck. She had come. After all, she still came. I suppressed the ripples in my heart. After more than 10 years, she looked much the same. Only time had left deep marks on her face. No amount of makeup could hide the wrinkles at her eyes or the exhaustion in her body. Compared to me, the difference was night and day. She hooked her arm through the man's and strode forward. Anan frowned slightly. Who are you? This is your aunt, I said calmly, taking the initiative. Li Qian. Li Qian trembled violently with emotion. You're lying, she screamed. Chu Noan, my child. I am your real mother. The entire hall erupted. All eyes turned toward me. Anan raised her brow. You're the one lying. Aunt, I am my mother's biological daughter. You gave birth and left back then. The baby was sent to an orphanage by my grandparents. I had never hidden the truth about Li Qian from my children. When they were little, they asked about their maternal grandparents. I told them plainly that they were alive, but I didn't want to go back. I also told them about how Li Qian gave birth and my parents tried to force me to raise the child. The Shen family knew clearly about the hatred between me and Li Qian. At that moment, Li Qian burst into tears. My child, she lied to you. She tricked you. I entrusted you to your grandparents after giving birth. Who knew this vicious woman would steal you? For all these years, she didn't dare come back because she was afraid I'd find you. Chu Noan, she cried, turning to me, how could you do this? I've searched for you for so many years. You can't separate a mother and her child like this. Everyone stared at her. She cried so heartbreakingly that it looked convincing, but soon she realized something was wrong. She looked up and saw only contempt and suspicion in the eyes around her. She panicked. Why doesn't anyone believe me? It really was her who stole my child. At that moment, Auntie Li from across the hall stepped forward. Li Qian, don't talk nonsense. Back then, Officer Wang brought the baby and claimed it was Chu Noan's. But Chu Noan exposed the lie on the spot and called the police. That's when it was discovered you gave birth and ran away, leaving the baby to your parents. They were old, how could they raise her? So they gave the child to someone else. Hearing this, Li Qian froze. My mother immediately jumped to her feet, her voice trembling. I didn't give her away, she said sharply. I asked someone to bring her to Chu Noan's university. Auntie Li curled her lip. When Chu Noan got married, all of us were there. Did anyone see a child then? That's right, someone echoed. The Chu family, you can't just talk nonsense. My mother panicked. It was me, I was the one who had someone bring the baby to Chu Noan's university. She turned to Li Qian, frantic. Don't be reckless anymore, your younger sister raised your child for so many years. You should be thanking her. Look at the child now, so outstanding. She's already in the national team. She was truly scared, especially when she met my cold gaze. For no reason at all. Fear surged in her eyes. She immediately changed her tone. Li Qian hurriedly wiped away her tears and turned to me. Sister, then I misunderstood you. Then she turned to Anan. But child, I really am your real mother. Anan stared at her in shock. Then looked at me. You're talking nonsense. I am not your child. My mother-in-law stepped forward without hesitation and slapped Lee Kian hard across the face. What nonsense are you spouting? This is the daughter-in-law who carried a child for 10 months and endured labor to give birth. From prenatal registration to delivery, the hospital has complete records. She had a difficult birth and severe hemorrhaging. She was rushed to the provincial hospital and stayed there for 3 days before she survived. Our entire family pulled every string we had just to save both mother and child. You open your mouth and claim my precious granddaughter was born by you. Do you have any shame at all? My father-in-law stepped forward as well, roaring angrily. If you dare say one more word of slander, I will call the police immediately and sue you for defamation. Lee Kian clutched her swollen, reddened face. Her lips trembled, her whole body went rigid. She shrank back slightly, then suddenly locked her eyes on me. I raised my brow and met her gaze. She snapped instantly. It's you, Chu Noan. You fabricated all of this. The man beside her growled coldly. Your family is powerful now, professors, company owners. Faking a few documents is nothing. If you dare, go do a DNA test. Child, let's do the test, then everything will be clear. My daughter didn't even look at him. Her paternal grandparents stood firmly in front of us, shielding us. My biological parents, however, stood on Lee Kian's side. Noan, they pleaded, just give the child back to your sister. That's right, my mother added. Lee Kian has suffered so much outside all these years. You already have a son, don't you? Just give it back to her. The guests turned to look, whispering non-stop. What is really going on? Did she really steal someone else's child? Raised her for over 10 years and now refuses to return her? But blood is blood. How can a mother give her child to someone else? This is ridiculous. Lee Kian, someone asked sharply, you insist this child is yours. Do you have any proof? Any birthmark? Any identifying features? I turned coldly to my mother. Did you personally see me take that baby? Both of them froze. I let out a faint, icy laugh. You forgot one thing. My daughter is 16 years old this year. She's currently on the national junior gymnastics team. And your daughter should be 18 by now. The ages don't match. You've mistaken the person. Only then did realization dawn on everyone. That's right, Anan is 16. I even attended her victory banquet. I remember now, Anan is the younger daughter. Chu Noan gave birth in the 2nd year after marriage. And the Chu family didn't even invite those two when Chu Noan got married. Yes, I remember that too. At this point, my parents' faces turned ghastly pale. Lee Kian staggered back 2 steps, disbelief written all over her face. You're lying, she shrieked. I get it now, you deliberately falsified her age so you wouldn't have to return her to me. Mocking laughter rippled through the crowd. Everyone looked at her as if she were insane. Before she could continue, a senior official from the General Administration of Sports stepped forward, his face stern. You are the one speaking irresponsibly. If what you say were true, her qualification for the national team would be revoked immediately. This matter is extremely serious. I will report it at once and submit it to the police for investigation. All competition registration records for Comrade Trannanen clearly state her age as 16. At this moment, my daughter also took out her ID. I'm willing to undergo a DNA test, she said calmly. And I agree to involve the police. But if I am not your daughter, you must bear full legal responsibility for fabrication, slander, and damaging my mother's reputation today. Anan was the treasure I carried for 10 months and gave birth to in agony. She had been obedient and kind since childhood, cherished deeply by her paternal grandparents. My son immediately stepped to my side as well. What gives you the right to talk about my mother like this? Other than your filthy mouths, what evidence do you have? My mother has my birth certificate, household registration, and ID. What do you have? My mother's face instantly turned white. She looked at me, her voice trembling. You're lying. No one. If Anan really is your biological daughter, then where is Lee Kian's daughter? I spread my hands, feigning sudden realization. Probably in an orphanage. 18 years ago, when I was still teaching at the university, the academic office once told me someone claiming to be my mother brought a baby girl and asked me to come claim her. I checked the surveillance footage and didn't recognize the woman at all. So I immediately called the police. The police took the baby away. She was likely sent to an orphanage. Many faculty members and students can testify to this. If you don't believe it, you can check the police records from that year. Hearing this, Lee Kian let out a shrill scream and lunged at me like a madwoman, trying to hit me. I reacted faster, slapping her hard across the face and knocking her to the ground. You dare hit me? She screamed. Chu Noan, give my daughter back. I laughed coldly. You animal. You gave birth to a bastard child and ran away, claimed it was my brother's, dumped the mess on my parents, and then tried to frame me into raising your child. You enjoyed yourself outside for over 10 years. Now that my daughter has a future, you come crawling back to snatch her? Let me tell you, you don't have that fate. With your rotten, jealous, spineless nature, how could you possibly give birth to a champion like my daughter? Wake up. Why don't you ask those two kind parents standing beside you? Who was it that brought the baby to my university back then? Why didn't they come themselves? My mother completely panicked. Facing Lee Kian's questioning gaze, she hurriedly explained. I was afraid. Afraid no one wouldn't see me. So I hired a stranger to bring the baby. I hid nearby. I clearly saw no one holding the baby. She suddenly glared at me. Chu Noan, how could you be so heartless? How could you send her to an orphanage? She's your biological niece. And she's my biological granddaughter. I stared at her coldly. Then wasn't it you who heartlessly threw her at me back then? Lee Kian screamed hysterically. My daughter is Tran Anan. It's her. Chu Noan must have deceived me. The man with the fake gold chain snarled. My daughter, Li Fu Kai, how could she be in an orphanage? Lee Kian, if you don't give me an explanation today, I won't let this go. Lee Kian completely lost control. I pulled out my phone and called the police again. Even when the police arrived, they couldn't stop the chaos. Lee Kian rolled on the ground, making a scene. In the end, I agreed to do a DNA test, and demanded it be expedited. After that, my daughter returned to the celebration banquet. I also assured the officials from the General Administration of Sports that there would absolutely be no issues. All of Anan's records were 100% authentic. 3 hours later, the DNA results came back, black on white. They clearly proved that I was Anan's biological mother. The moment Lee Kian held the report, she collapsed completely. She looked up at me in panic. Disbelief etched on her face. You really sent my daughter to an orphanage? I spread my hands calmly. A child of unknown origin, how could I keep her? I told you countless times, hand her to the police. If they couldn't find the parents, she would go to an orphanage. If she was lucky, she might still be there now. If not, she may have been adopted long ago. If I were you, I'd rush to the orphanage immediately instead of wasting time here. Before she could react, Li Fu Kai kicked her viciously, sending her sprawling to the ground. You cheap woman, he roared. Back then you said you were just borrowing a seed for the Chu family. Now you see a future and drag me here to claim a daughter? And now what? Useless trash. He stomped hard on her face. Lee Kian screamed in agony. My parents rushed forward to shield her, only to be kicked down as well. Only then did my mother remember me. She turned and grabbed my pant leg tightly. No one, think of something. You're really going to watch your sister-in-law get beaten to death? I shook my leg violently, kicking her hand away. Didn't you also watch your own daughter being pushed toward death back then? If I hadn't produced evidence today, I would be the one condemned. I'd be branded a child trafficker, hated by everyone. Am I not your biological daughter? Why did you treat me like this? Besides, that granddaughter of yours might not even be related by blood. My mother snapped angrily. You're too petty. We're family. Your conditions are so good now. What's wrong with raising one more child? At that moment, I finally understood. I should never have held even a shred of hope for them. I brushed her hand away coldly. I'm sorry, I can't help. If you want to do something, report it to the police yourselves. This mess, I won't touch it. Holding the DNA test results in my hand, I told the police everything that had happened that day, without hiding a single detail. I formally requested to press charges against her for slander and disturbing public order. I demanded that she issue a public apology and compensate my daughter for emotional damages. She had ruined my daughter's celebration banquet. I would never let this go. Soon after, Tham Duck called in his legal team and handed everything over to them. Meanwhile, we returned to the banquet to continue celebrating my daughter's achievement. After reviewing the DNA results, the officials from the General Administration of Sport were finally at ease. That's good, one of them said. At least the future of this champion won't be affected. When the banquet ended, our family returned to the hotel. Tham Duck had already bought a home for us in this city. Unexpectedly, early the next morning, my parents called me, crying so hard they could barely speak. No one, please come quickly. Can we go to the orphanage together? I'm begging you, for my sake, help your sister-in-law just this once. She's about to be beaten to death by Li Fu Kai. I glanced at Tham Duck. He nodded. So I agreed. Standing at the entrance of the orphanage, I saw Li Qian. Her face was bruised and swollen. The moment she saw me, hatred flashed in her eyes. I sneered inwardly. Everything that had happened was entirely her own doing. It had nothing to do with me. Inside, the staff informed us that a girl named Chu Mai Mai had long since been removed from the records due to serious disciplinary issues. Removed? Li Qian asked in shock. What do you mean by removed? She repeatedly stole and fought. Showed no signs of reform. She dropped out before finishing vocational school and started hanging around with gang members. She never came back. If you want to find her, you can try the Huyan Da nightclub on the west side of the city. I heard she works there. We went to Huyan Da. The moment we stepped inside, the air reeked of cigarettes and alcohol. After asking around, we finally found Chu Mai Mai in a dark private room. Her hair was dyed a glaring pink. She was drinking and gambling with a group of thugs. Her belly was visibly swollen, at least 7 or 8 months pregnant. I froze. She was only 18 years old, and already about to become a mother. The man beside her looked young but carried a strong gangster aura. Seeing this scene, Li Qian staggered forward and asked in a trembling voice. Are you Chu Mai Mai? The girl didn't even bother lifting her head. She answered lazily, yeah. What do you want? The thug slung an arm around her waist and glared at us provocatively. Who the hell are you? What do you want with my girlfriend? And who are you? Li Qian snapped. I'm her man, the father of the baby in her belly. You. Li Qian was so furious she almost fainted. She's only 18, you let her get pregnant? The thug sneered. So what? We both agreed to it. See? This kid is my blood. Who's this old lady? Mind your own business. I'm her mother, Li Qian screamed. Both Chu Mai Mai and the thug froze. Then Chu Mai Mai slowly lifted her head, eyes hazy with alcohol, looked at Li Qian, and burst out laughing. My mother? I grew up an orphan. You're just here to scam me, right? Look at you, dressed all fancy, pretending to claim a daughter. The thug spat at Li Qian's feet. Get lost, don't ruin our drinking. At that moment, Li Fu Kai rushed forward. You little bastard, looking for death? Seeing Li Fu Kai's aggressive posture, the thug immediately backed off and hid behind Chu Mai Mai. Looking at her like this, she's really my daughter? Li Fu Kai muttered with obvious disgust. Maybe we got the wrong person. I took out the orphanage files and photos of Chu Mai Mai and compared them carefully. It was her, no mistake. Chu Mai Mai, I said calmly, these are your biological parents. Chu Mai Mai stared at them, eyes wide. If you don't believe it, go get a DNA test. I added lightly. See the brand name clothes they're wearing? They're rich. Her eyes lit up instantly. She jumped up and dragged the thug with her. Did you hear that? These are my real parents. Your luck just turned. Then she turned to Li Qian with a fake smile. Sorry about earlier, guess I didn't recognize Mount Tai. Li Qian looked like she was about to vomit. This is impossible, how could you be my daughter? I happily fanned the flames. Li Qian, what's wrong? Didn't you come back after all these years just to find your biological daughter? She's right here, why won't you acknowledge her now? Tham Duc joined in smoothly. That's right, you kept saying your daughter was outstanding. Now that you've found her, don't abandon her just because she's fallen on hard times. That would really hurt her. Li Qian was so enraged she nearly passed out. I pushed Chu Mai Mai forward. Come on, let your parents treat you to a meal. Then get the DNA test done and officially reunite. The night before, Tham Duc had already investigated Li Fu Kai thoroughly. The luxury brands and gold chain he wore were all fake. He wasn't some big boss, just a long-time gambling leech. He had followed Li Qian back intending to squeeze money out of me. Too bad, I never gave him the chance. When he saw what his biological daughter had become, he was stunned. But I wasn't about to let him off easily. Only after the DNA test confirmed the mother-daughter relationship did I feel completely satisfied. Trash belongs with trash. My parents were equally devastated when the results showed that Chu Mai Mai had absolutely no blood relation to my brother. Yet back then, they had forced me to raise her. They trembled with rage and wanted to throw everyone out. But how could it be that easy? They wanted a grandchild, so I let them have one. I sent the entire group of 5 back to my parents' dilapidated old apartment and left with Tham Duc without looking back. Li Qian panicked too late. Chu Mai Mai firmly believed they were wealthy. She moved in with her thug boyfriend immediately. Li Qian and Li Fu Kai no longer even had a place to sleep. 7 people crammed into a 60-square-meter apartment. Later, Aunt Li occasionally told me what happened afterward. The house was chaos every single day. Chu Mai Mai demanded a wedding, forcing Li Qian to produce 200 yuan as bride price. The thug demanded another 300 yuan as a title change fee. Where were they supposed to get that money? They had come intending to drain me dry. Instead, I had returned every bit of filth right back to them. Now they desperately wanted to disown their daughter, but it was too late. Chu Mai Mai, unable to get money, beat Li Fu Kai with a rolling pin along with her boyfriend. My parents rushed in to stop them, and were beaten too. My father suffered a concussion. My mother fell and broke her leg. Li Qian tried to run, Chu Mai Mai broke her arm. When I arrived at the hospital, they were all lying in bed groaning. My mother clutched my hand, sobbing. No one, Mom was wrong, please help me drive them away. Just once. I gently pulled my hand back. Mom, how could that be right? That's Li Qian's biological daughter. Your biological granddaughter. She went down the wrong path because she lacked love and guidance. Now you should give her all your love and help her return to the right road. My mother completely collapsed. I paid the hospital bills and turned to leave. Even with her arm broken, Li Qian tried to beg for money. I kicked the bed frame hard. We're done. You have nothing to do with me anymore. Li Qian, you ruined my daughter's celebration and publicly slandered my family. My lawyer will deal with that. And as for you too, I looked at my parents coldly. I'll provide the minimum legal support. Not a cent more. In my previous life, I died under their schemes and cruelty. In this life, I will never walk the same path again. As I left, wails of despair echoed behind me. Half a year later, Tham Duck and I returned to our hometown to handle property matters. We planned to sell the old house and settle permanently in Beijing with our daughter. At the entrance of the residential area, I saw Li Qian. In just 6 months, she looked 10 years older. Her hair had turned gray. Her eyes were dull and exhausted. The moment she saw my car, she went mad, slamming against the window. Chu Noan, this isn't how it was supposed to be. You already jumped off a building and died. Everything you had should have been mine. And Anne's, all of it should have been mine. She screamed hysterically as she chased after the car. I rolled up the window slowly. A cold smile curled on my lips. So she had been reborn too. Too bad, she chose the wrong time. And the wrong path. In this life, she will never have the chance to hurt me again. Let her stay with her good daughter. Hold on to that pile of filth. And rot together, until the very end. That's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe to China Story Tales, and stay tuned for more stories.